What's going on? It's time for another episode of Too Hard for the Radio, transmitting from the future-free state of Greater Idaho, where if you swipe right on an amputee, you've got some serious issues. I am the one-armed madman, and back with me, Daniel Steele, Music City, America. He's here. We're doing it. What's up, man?
I don't think it's exclusive to Idaho, or if you swipe right.
No, it's everywhere, for sure. For sure. So, we were talking a little bit before. I accidentally sent Dan a text message that was going to somebody else a few minutes ago, and I said, "Don't worry, it'll make sense soon." So, without any further ado, let's go to this video that I've got where this guy totally breaks down why I don't date.
Find a single 37-year-old woman, and then when you do, they have a tendency to fall into three categories. They're either A, super career-oriented, successful chick. So I'm out, right? Those girls are looking for a guy that owns a suit. I have a pair of slacks. I don't know where they are. Second category, women single at my age are divorcees, and those women are like Chernobyl. They're beautiful, but something bad happened, and now we all need to leave it alone for a few years. And the last category of women single at my age are women that have been single the entire time because their therapist hasn't quite got their pill combo locked down, and they still have episodes where they'll break into your apartment and set fire to kittens. I don't even have kittens, man. She brought them.
All right. So I dated this woman it was a very short fling, couple of dates. We had sex a few times, and she ended up being an alcoholic. And I had just gotten divorced from an alcoholic, and I was just like, I'm not into this. I'm ending this before it even starts. So like I knew at her house the night before, I was like, this isn't going to go well, but I was kind of like roped into being there. So I think I probably banged her when I didn't want to. And, the next day I send the, hey, this is not going to work out for me, blah, blah, blah. And she's screaming at me over text messages. And finally I was like, you're drunk. It's 11 o'clock in the morning and you're drunk. That's exactly why this isn't going to happen. And a few minutes later, she showed up at my house, yelling and screaming like a black woman, and she throws something at my door, and I just stay inside afterwards. I'm like, I'm not even going to deal with this woman. And after she finally leaves, I go outside, and it's my hat, not this hat, but another hat that I had that I apparently left over at her house. And the funny part is like, her brother was over at the house like the day before while we were hanging out there, and he was like, you need to pick up the dog shit around your house. Like, it's fucking disgusting. Like, this is gross. I just stepped in dog shit on my way to your front door. And she was just being a woman about it. And so she picked up every piece of dog poop in her backyard that day, and she put it into my hat and threw it at my door. So my whole deal is any woman out there, 30s, late 20s to early 40s, if you're willing to swipe right on an amputee, you've got fucking issues because you're going down to the bottom of the barrel.
I spent a good bit of time on dating apps. I had a really good system in Europe. So this is 2018, 2019. I was there for 6 months, and I worked in London. I hated England. England is the worst of the worst. The women are ugly and the food's bad. Just like go visit, see Big Ben, whatever, walk by the guards that don't flinch, cool, but fucking leave. But the thing was, you could fly out of Gatwick for about $35 to pretty much anywhere in Europe.
Oh, wow.
So I'd work Monday through Thursday. Thursday after work, I'd hop on the train, go to Gatwick, work from a hotel room on Friday, and then just go see Europe. And I had the system where you paid $20 on Tinder, because Tinder was better than Bumble back then. I don't know what the dating landscape's like now, or the dating app landscape.
I can't get anybody to swipe on me anymore.
Okay. So I'd get matches, and then I had this canned thing. Hey, I'm flying into Amsterdam from London. Can I grab you anything from duty free?
Oh, that's smooth.
And if they were like, grab me a Louis Vuitton, I'd be like, block. But most of the time, it's like, oh my God, you're so generous. I couldn't take anything from a stranger. And then, like, when you walk in, it's like, oh, this is the sweetest guy ever. He's American. He's flying in from London where he works. And it was just like fucking amazing. Actually, I saw like some self-proclaimed incel posting on X, and somebody responded, dude, just go to Japan, you'll be fine. And I responded, go to Poland. And somebody responds, nope, never. They hate Americans there. They'll never hook up with you. And I'm like, dude, I went on 4 dates in 3 days in Warsaw and got laid 3 times. Like, I
Nice.
don't know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
And like a 75% is insane. In the States, I was maybe like 10 to 15%. Um, but yeah, it was just a really good system too.
That's fucking cool.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
I gave up on it a while ago. Every once in a while I'll log in to like I think I have a Facebook dating account, but I can't get onto it through my
Oh, those were the fucking wildest.
Yeah, so like I can't get onto it through my iPad for some reason. Like it's not natively available on it, so I have to go to my phone and then I just never do it. And like
Yeah.
nobody. But I will add that he did miss a fourth category. The fourth category is feminists. And they're the worst because they're hot and they're fun to hang out with, but then you get into the feminism. And so like I dated this chick when I was living in San Francisco. I was like 28 or 29 at the time, and she was like I think she was like 19, just a fucking banging hot lifeguard in Santa Cruz, just smoking fucking hot. And she was a feminist. I didn't know what a feminist was at that time. I was just an ignorant fucking ex-drug addict dirt bike racer. Like I didn't know any of that shit. But I knew
Yeah.
enough to recognize that there was something off about her. Like there's something
Yeah.
weird going on, like this empowerment thing, and it was just strange. Especially, I mean, this was in like 2010, so it wasn't nearly as like advert as it is now, like in your face. It was a lot like more toned down back then.
Yeah.
I actually went. So I went to City College of San Francisco for a year, and I needed an English class for like basic, for my basic education shit. And I was late to
Yeah.
get signed up, so I signed up for this class that was called Women's Studies English. And I was just like, okay, an English class about women, whatever. And to be honest, like it was one of the most interesting classes I've ever taken. And this was in like 2010, 2012 in San Francisco. And back then, like the big battle was, what was it? I guess body positivity was the thing back then. So like we were always talking about magazine covers and,
That was a fucking mistake.
yeah, exactly. But no, actually, like my teacher she looked like fucking, she looked like Mark Cuban. And,
Oh, yeah.
she wore
Or Rachel
Birkenstocks.
Maddow.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to say Rachel Maddow at first, but then I had to go to Mark Cuban because they're the same person. But she was
Same.
actually like really open to debate. And like at one point I got into it with this woman in this class, and she was like 400 pounds. She was just a monster. And she's arguing that she's healthy. And I'm like, you're not healthy. Like your ankles
Yeah.
are hurting every day. Your feet hurt every day. Like you don't need a doctor to tell you that there's something wrong with that, right? And she got all
Yeah.
offended. And the teacher was like, well, no, it's a valid question. Like if you're walking all day and your feet are hurting more than the average person, that could be attributed to weight. And it was just interesting because like that class would not exist today. Like you would not allow me to be me in that class today because it would just
No.
not go over well, right?
I went on a date with a feminist in London. It was on Valentine's Day, which is whatever. And do you remember the Aziz and sorry, am
Yeah,
I saying his name
yeah.
right?
You had a bad
His
date.
cancellation.
Yeah, you had a bad date.
So she was just like so into it, into how wrong he was, that I'm like, let's read this line by line. And it's like he ordered white wine. He didn't even ask what kind of wine I wanted. I'm like, bitch, you're eating oysters.
Oh my God.
What kind of monster? Sorry, what kind of monster would drink red wine with oysters? Not even like, oh, that's so uncouth. No, it's fucking disgusting. Like seafood and red wine just doesn't go together.
I
And
don't
then it's
like
like,
either, so I can't. I'm out on that.
fair. I'll tell you, it's fucking
I
disgusting.
believe you.
And then he's like, then she's like, I asked him to stop and he stopped. Okay. Then we sat on the couch in our underwear. I felt uncomfortable being in my underwear. Like when he asked him to stop and he stopped, why wouldn't that be a good ending point? You
You
know?
would think
And
so.
she's like, he tried to hit on me again. Like, no shit, you're sitting there in your
In your
underwear.
underwear.
Like,
I went
so
on
I,
a
it,
I went on a date
yeah,
with a
so
feminist here in Idaho, and she was hot. Tattoos. You know, I love tattoos. You know, it's a nice banger with some fucking knuckle tattoos. I'm all in. You know, and you know, we're BSing it on over the phone and this and that, and then we go out and have a date, and she goes, I think I'd rather just be friends. And I'm like, bitch, I do not want any part of being friends with you. Like, that would be the worst
yeah.
like thing. Like, no. That's, you are completely misreading the situation. I will put up with you if you allow me to fuck you. But otherwise, I don't want to hear
Yeah. Fuck that.
it.
I was in Atlanta and I went on a date with a girl and she was a freak. But come to find out that she had the gastro bypass and sucked dick like a fat girl. Like it was so
Oh,
good.
nice.
Not better than my wife, not saying that. But and then I got to thinking the other day, like imagine how many women are going to be false skinny because of Ozempic. And they're
Yeah.
just going to be sucking dudes' souls through their toes.
Oh my
Like
God.
that.
You know, I'm all for Ozempic. Like, I think these people are fat and they're going to kill themselves. Fucking give them some goddamn medication if that's what it takes. Like, they clearly don't have the fucking discipline to do it on their own, right? So,
I don't know, dude. Like I have one buddy who he's probably 4 or 5 inches taller than me, and he was always big. And then he took not was that big, but one of those, and he was looking like a fucking skeleton for a while. And
yeah,
we talked about it. I'm like, I was concerned about his health. I'm like, okay, you're losing weight, but you're not putting on muscle. And he's like, yeah, bro, I was always 70 pounds more than you, and now I'm 5 pounds less than you. And my method has been extreme won't work for me. It's just slow and steady. Still drink beer, just live my life, eat, but I exercise and I'm doing much better. But I'm also like putting on muscle while I lose weight, which is way harder than just losing weight.
yeah,
But he's like, dude, I am obsessed with food. It's all I think about. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But like if you're just too for if you do it on your own and you're paying for it yourself, fine. But if you're going to put a stress on our health
yes.
system,
But also, that stuff does not need to cost that much.
no.
I take
Also, they
a,
can't even sell it in their own fucking country.
yeah, I take a gut medication that is like $5,000 a month. It's
Wow.
just so stupid. You know what I mean? And it doesn't even really work. Like, I take it because once you get something like that, you don't want to give it up because it sets precedent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you want them to approve the expensive. So I take it, but it doesn't really work. And the idea of it's cool. It's a gut medication. Like, you have neurons in your gut. So, like, opioid receptors in your gut also, and they
Yeah.
get locked up to where your guts don't work. So, like, this medication is supposed to like de-opioid your gut essentially, which is pretty
Okay.
cool. Like, it's a good idea. I like it. I was like, it's not working real great. And they're like, well, we can give it to you in shot form. And I'm like, I don't want, like, come on. We got
Yeah.
to do something better than that, right?
Yeah. But yeah, so like I guess I'm on your side if it's not a tax on the rest of
Yeah.
humanity.
Well, like,
But
and
if it becomes like insurance approved and anybody can get it,
yeah,
I'm yeah.
yeah. And like, also, I know how hard it is to transform your body. Like, when I
Yeah.
graduated high school, I was 6'4", 150 pounds. And I was a dirt bike racer. Like,
Yeah.
I wrestle a 250-pound bike for a living. That's what I do. And I'm just this twig, and like, I was always very talented. I grew up like riding out in the mountains and stuff. So I had a different skill set once I got onto the track. So I was always very talented, but I would just get my butt kicked racing. And it just never really clicked with me that I wasn't strong enough. And back then,
Yeah.
like, before the internet and before people like gave out their secrets, one of the, things about racing was, oh, if you lift, you're going to get arm pumps. So don't lift. And like, that's just an excuse to be lazy, essentially.
Yeah.
But like, it took me I ended up like when I moved down to Southern California, I kind of quit racing. I had like broken a bunch of ribs on the side and really bad. And I was just all fucked up. So I took some time off and was just partying. And like my other co-host, Nolan, I was living with him down there, like, and he was born with a 6-pack. He's just one of those guys that, you know, and his dad had him
Eat
on
ice cream before bed.
And his dad had him on a bench press when he was fucking 10 years old, you know. So he's just one of those guys who just lucky, you know, genetically very lucky. And like we would go to the gym and I was just hammering weights as hard as I fucking could. And like my arms were pretty good and my core was pretty good, but my chest and like my shoulders were just not fucking there. And man, like for a year, I would just get on that bench and watch him put on 2 plates on each side, just and I'm putting on 1 plate and just barely being able to get to 10. And it's like, it took me 2 years of lifting every fucking day to gain 20 pounds. You know, I ended up being like, my fighting weight on the bike was like 180. I was walking around at like 185 and then I'd slim down 5 before the race. And I went from being a C-class rider to an A-class rider in a couple of months. A lot of it was also like the people that I was surrounded with and the area that I lived in. In Northern California, I only rode once a week, twice if I was lucky, just because of the driving aspect of it. I was so far away from everything. But down in Southern California, you've got tracks all over the place, open every day. So, but like the major thing was I didn't get any better on the bike from when I was racing C-class to A-class. I was just able to wrestle the bike around and handle it. You know, I had as much speed as everybody. I could jump behind a pro and hang with a couple corners, but then you're sucking wind by the end of it. But it's really, it took the body. And like, I didn't use any, like I took, you know, protein and stuff like that, but I didn't use any illegal drugs. And it took 2 years of lifting. I swam 1,000 meters a day for 2.5 years. And just
Jesus Christ.
Oh, it was gnarly, man. I worked, you know, 8 to 10 hours a day, went to the gym at night, rode in the morning, rode bike in the afternoon. It was gnarly. You know, it's hard to transform your body. Like I do not have the body type for a professional athlete. I was tall and skinny. That's like the worst thing you can possibly be. But once you get that weight on you, then I had some leverage. But anyways, we're off on a tangent. Like it's so hard to transform your body, though. That was just kind of my point on that.
Yeah, my wife grew up with, like, went to middle school with these people, and they ended up getting married. And we got to meet him about a month ago, and he was always just a short and skinny dude, and he like went all in on bodybuilding and just did like a natural or like no steroid bodybuilding competition. He did really well. That motherfucker had to count out grams of almonds that he could eat. I'm like, no, not interested.
It's not worth it. Like
maybe I'll have a gut, you know, but like I'm also building muscle and I think I'm going to live longer, but I'm just like happy. I'm not like trying to reach like some look. My wife cares about me. She's attracted to me. Everything is fine. So it's not like, oh, I need to look some way for somebody. I'm just trying to extend this ride in this meat suit for a while, you know?
Yeah, no, I gave up on looks after I got hurt. It's like, what am I going to do? Like lifting is so hard.
You look pretty badass, bro.
Huh?
You look pretty badass.
Yeah.
We just got to find you one of them women that are like into dudes that were in prison.
Yeah. I've done jail time. No prison. I've done jail time. Maybe I should make like a fake account and pretend that I'm in prison.
Yeah. Oh, they're releasing to me to my homestead in Idaho.
So speaking of winners, here's a winner. You're gonna love this one. Here's somebody. I'm guessing she's from California.
So your lawn maintenance is about to skyrocket because 90% of workers in the lawn maintenance industry, they come from Mexico. And whether they're here legally or not, Stephen Miller, who Trump's going to put in charge of his mass deportation project, is going to deport them. They're also going to deport people who are naturalized citizens. These are jobs that Americans will not do, okay? American families are not letting their young adults work in the lawn maintenance industry. These companies may be owned by Americans, but their employees are from Mexico. So not only will it be harder to find a company, the prices are going to double and triple. And this is going to affect a lot of other industries. It's going to affect our food supply and the housing industry because I don't know if you know this, but there's not a lot of Americans lining up to haul cement in and out of buildings. So, good luck.
We need our slaves. What happened to our slaves? They're getting rid of our slaves.
That, and so I was thinking about this. And did you see the Tesla robot Optimus or whatever
Yeah.
launch like a month or two ago?
Yeah.
Like they have these robots that you'll be able to buy for $25,000 that can do anything. All right, so that's problem solved.
Yeah.
There's
And
like,
also,
it's going to take them 2 years to get all these people out of here, and then you can just pay $20,000 and have a robot that will do anything. I'm going to get a seersucker suit. I'm going to sit on my porch and drink mint juleps and have my little robots run around.
hell yeah, man.
Like how
And she's completely wrong where she says that these are jobs that Americans won't do. These are jobs that Americans won't do for the price that the Mexicans will do it for. That's the only real difference. So I bought a hot tub last winter, or I guess it was probably last summer. And I needed a slab poured. So I'm calling around. I'm looking on Facebook. I'm asking people that I know, like, hey, can you find me a concrete guy? And I had 2 or 3 different guys come over and give me bids. I had this white guy come over. The one that I remember, really, me and him got into it over the phone. So he comes, he does his bid. And then he's like, oh, yeah, I just moved here from Oregon. We're loving it here and blah, 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 blah. So he comes and gives me this bid. We're talking a 7x7 pad, 4 inches deep with rebar. He gives me a bid for $2,600. And I go, are you crazy, man? And he's like, giving me shit. And finally, like, as we're arguing, he goes, I don't know what to tell you, man. That's just the market. I'm like, how the fuck do you know what the market is? You just moved here, remember? And then I found a Mexican that did it for $300.
Yeah. Yeah, when we moved into this place, we got all of our landlords' service providers. And we had this old white guy. We moved in October, and we had to pay $150 a month no matter what. And he came once between October and April, even though we were paying the $150 a month. And I'm like, why would I have an old white guy mowing my fucking lawn? So we got a housekeeper. I said, hey, do you know anybody? My wife's like, that's racist. I'm like, no, it's not. Watch. And she's like, yeah, my husband. And now we pay $60 every 2 weeks. We can hit the breaks when there's no grass growing, and it's just like it's not even. I don't think it's racist. I think I have a better experience when I hire Mexicans to do those things, and I get a more competitive rate, and I like actually seek those people out. And like I wouldn't have an Indian guy make me a pizza.
No. You want some curry on your pizza, Mr. Daniel?
Yeah. Oh, I sent my wife this meme. It was like inverse world, and it's or in a parallel universe, and it's a Indian woman. It says, "Show penis, send testicles, please." I'll send that one over to you.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I got some more videos. This one, if we want to pivot and talk election a little bit.
Yeah.
This is we've both seen this video, but I think it's worth playing just because, man, there's a lot going on here.
I'm not on anyone's payroll. I'm not beholden to anyone. That's why I'm here telling the truth. I'm not here to gaslight anybody. This is just the truth.
And what is the truth?
The truth is this is just an epic disaster. This is a $1 billion. If you're the technically,
Oops.
I'm not
I
on
fucked up
anyone's
my
payroll.
editing
I'm
there.
not beholden to anyone. That's why I'm here telling the truth. I'm not here to gaslight anybody. This is just the truth.
And what is the truth?
The truth is this is just an epic disaster. This is a $1 billion disaster. Actually, it was $1.018 billion, I think, right? There were $20 million or $18 million in debt.
Right.
It's incredible. And I raised millions of that. I have friends that I have to be accountable to and to explain what happened because I told them it was a margin of error race. I was promised, Jen O'Malley Dillon promised all of us that Harris would win. She even put videos out saying that Harris would win. I believed her. My donors believed her. And so they wrote massive checks. I feel like a lot of us were misled. And even on the night of election night, Will, I looked somebody in the eye and I said, are we going to do this? Are we going to pull it off? She told me yes. And I asked somebody else, like, how are you feeling? He's like, we're going to win Iowa. And I was like, what?
Do you think did they believe this going in? Was there
fix
a
was
real
in.
sense of false confidence on the side of Kamala Harris, or did they know they were in store for disaster?
I was wondering about that. I was like, I asked them, are you privy to internal numbers that I am not seeing? Because I study this so carefully, and I just wasn't seeing any basis for that level of confidence. And I also want to remind our viewers that, the Trump campaign was touting all these incredible empirical data weeks before election night. What Harris is touting was the door knocking. She didn't say anything
Fake
really
door
about
knocking.
early voting. Now I know it's because there was nothing much to say.
I asked
This is interesting. They all thought the fix was in, right? I mean, can you read that any other way?
Yeah, I can. I can read that as a massive money laundering scheme. Like, let's unpack. God, I wish I sent this to you before this. But Trump spent half of what Harris spent on salaries. Trump ran a campaign for 2 years. Harris ran a campaign for 3 months. I think that they kind of saw the writing on the wall. Like, the jig was up. The money's not going to Ukraine anymore. The money's not going here. The money's not going there. Like, the $8 billion that they spent on EV, it was $8 billion for EV chargers.
Yeah.
That old Mayor Pete.
Like 100 have been built or something like that?
No, 8.
8. Jesus.
Yeah. And then the rural broadband thing, I think that was another 12 billion. My numbers could be off, but they're fucking ridiculous numbers.
Billions. We know it's billions.
Not a single inch of wire has been laid for rural broadband, and they've spent billions. And all of that money just flows through. So if they see that Trump is trending as well as he was trending, I mean, like, I knew that unless there was some ridiculous cheating, there's no way that Trump loses.
Yeah.
And those people have access to much better data than I do, because mine's all anecdotal, just talking to people, that sort of thing. Like, if you saw that writing on the wall and that the money was drying up, wouldn't you try to suck every fucking penny out that you could?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, raise more money. We're going to spend $500 million on salaries in 3 months.
So, see, I was kind of thinking that money might have went to celebrities for endorsements, but I think what you're saying makes much more sense.
Oprah got $1 million. Beyonce got 2 or 3. Like, we're talking about maybe 50 million. Call it 100 million. They still spent $1 billion and 20 million in
100 days.
months. Yeah. So I think that they knew that the money was drying up, and also, if you're the Democratic Party and you don't do a big shift from where you're at now, you're just never going to win again.
There has to be a complete realignment.
And all of those people who've been leeching off the system for that long know that they're on their way out. So they're like, okay, well, let's pull this last billion out. Let's see how much Biden can send to Ukraine before the end of his tenure, and just suck as much money out as fast as we can, because this shit's over.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. When you were talking about the broadband line, this is something I've been hammering on for years now. So the 2030 goals, right, are reduce carbon emissions by 50% by 2030. Wind and solar. So one of the things that they're all in on is we have to have wind and solar, and wind and solar require transmission lines because you're moving your source further away from your load, essentially. Like with natural gas, you put your source as close to the load as you possibly can. So you have to build the least amount of lines as possible. But if you're going to try and power California from, a bunch of solar panels and windmills in Texas, it's going to require a lot of transmission lines. So for their 2030 goals, they want to increase our transmission grid by 60%. That comes out to 420,000 miles. That is the equivalent of 155 times across America, or 16.8 times around the world. We build less than 300 miles a year.
Yep.
We build around 100 to 150 miles. I think we might have done 200 a couple of years ago. But they've made it impossible. Yeah, right? And the funny part about that is they've made it impossible for themselves.
Yeah.
All the regulations, all of the, habitats, protected habitats, all these places that you can't run power lines through. And what are they going to do? So, like, another thing I've been saying is one of the reasons I think that Trump had to win is because we're going to keep pumping oil and gas. And how are you going to be telling these climate change cultists that it's all the Republicans and the only reason we're still, on track for 3C or over the next 100 years is because of the Republicans. But if they are holding office for the entire time, it's kind of hard for them to blame it on the baddies. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
you've had office for 8 years. What did you do? Nothing. So they have to have the Republicans in charge at some point.
Well, and also, so I heard the best argument for privatizing nuclear, and I think it can, if you think about our country across the board, it makes a lot of sense. So your job is to stay in office if you're a politician. That's your job. Your job is not to serve the people. So you have to make these promises. You have to stay on trend with everything, and everything happens in a 4 to 8 year cycle. With something as complex as nuclear, you should have like a 30, 40 year plan, but you have the power changing every
Yeah.
4 to 8 years. And his argument was what you need to do is you need to privatize it. You need to make federal grants like, hey, we're going to invest X dollars. And then this is the course that we're going with nuclear. Then you have a business person run that. And every time the climate shifts and politically, it doesn't matter. This is the mandate. This is what was guaranteed.
Yeah.
And for as much as I dislike China, which is a lot, they're working on like a 500-year plan.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're working on a 4 year plan. So, yeah, sure, we might be.
If they even have a plan for 4 years.
Yeah.
They don't really have a plan. It's just
Yeah.
they have the power to institute the plan if it's there.
And it used to be we were all kind of Americans working towards some things and like, hey, we disagreed on these issues, but we were Americans and we were like doing the thing for America. And then it just got so fucking cloudy. And it's like, oh no. Dude, I'm sure you've seen so many fucking meltdowns. One woman posted a video. Her husband voted for Trump, so she left him, and now she's going to start fucking his friends.
Yeah. Another woman poisoned her husband.
Oh, I didn't see that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Poisoned him. That's a real winner. She'll be swiping right on me next week.
Oh, just drink water out of a bottle with a cat, buddy. Microplastics aren't going to kill you.
I wish I had my hard drive plugged in right now because I've got some great clips about nuclear. So one of the big myths about nuclear is that, the old reactors were so bad that they caused these meltdowns, but now we have these new reactors. That's a whole line of bullshit. The nuclear industry destroyed itself. It wasn't 3 Mile Island. It wasn't Chernobyl. They did it to themselves. What they did was saw an opportunity for a money grab. So they have these old reactors and they go, oh, these old reactors, they're so, they've got these problems and blah, blah, blah. Oh my goodness, we need new reactors. We need new technology. We need more money. We need more regulations. And they did it to themselves. Like those reactors from the 1950s engineers are as good as they come. Like those guys they were good. There was nothing wrong with those reactors. One of my favorite books that I've read recently was an Andy Weir book. I don't remember what it's called. It was his newer one where this guy travels to a different star system to investigate a planet and meets up with some aliens that are doing the same thing, investigating this planet because whatever. And these aliens that he meets all have 1950s technology. And the cool part about it was everything worked. Like everything they did worked. It was all possible, but it was a weird deal. They didn't have eyes, so they couldn't see space in the same way that we did. And they didn't understand relativity. They had no theory of relativity, essentially. So the one alien couldn't understand why they showed up at a different time than they were supposed to show up. It was just so interesting though, because their ship was all 1950s technology. It was just nuclear reactors. They were launching nuclear bombs out behind them and pushing their way. It's just really cool, to see what the 50s technology is actually capable of. One of my favorite shows on YouTube is called Science and Futurism with Isaac Arthur. And he's really interesting because he's a physicist, but he was also in the military and he's a right winger. So he has a
Okay.
totally different view of like space exploration and the future of humanity than like a progressive would, because progressives are just insane and they can't, look outside their own bubble essentially. So he's interesting. And one of his mottos is, if brute force isn't working, you're just not using enough of it. And I love that. Like,
Yeah,
I
that's
love
great.
that.
Yeah. It's a good one. Shit, I had a point out. Oh, so let's talk about small reactors. Do you know
Yeah.
much about that?
Oh yeah. Those
Okay.
are, we should have one.
I
My
don't.
HOA should own one.
Yeah. But so that I haven't done much research, but it's been like popping up that like this is the way to
Yeah.
go.
Modular reactors.
And another thing, so all the nuclear waste, to my understanding, I
Fuel.
think we talked about this shit already.
Yeah. It's
It's
fuel.
just like they use 20% of it and they don't know how to harvest the other. So we have like so much power just sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't matter if people are scared.
It's
So
nuclear reactors are so cool. There's steam engines. All they are is a steam engine. It's a fancy steam engine is really all it is. You put some rocks. It's just incredible, right? You put some rocks in some water, and that's all you really need to do. And like I did a lot of like studying nuclear reactors and stuff like that, because when I got hurt, I was like, oh, maybe I'll get into like nuclear energy, because that's something that, and they're so simple. You've got fuel rods and you've got control rods. They're gravity fed. If you lose power, the control rods fall, close off the fuel rods. That's it. No more reaction. It's over. Like, I think that energy security should be a massive, massive issue in this country. Like, imagine if my HOA could spend, $1 million, because we should be able to get a nuclear reactor for $1 million at this point. Like a small one, this should not be difficult, right? We've been doing this for 50 years. Like, we know how to do it. It's not hard. We should be able to buy our own nuclear reactor. And then you've got a pitch. If you want to buy my house, it's like, look, you've got energy. You don't have to pay a power bill anymore. That's it. It's just there. If you want to start a business out of your garage, go for it. If you want to, mine Bitcoin, go for it. Grow some weed, have at it. Now you're the pitch for this entire fucking community HOA. Like, I think people should be going, like me, you, other buddies, we should be going in on land at some point and like have land agreements where you don't sell the land unless 2/3 of the owners agree on the person that you sell it to. And then one of the pitches is, you've got energy forever.
yeah. And so when people talk about climate and the fears, which I feel like are very overstated and another power grab and another money grab. What they don't talk about is the 2 billion people that we've lifted out of poverty with fossil fuel.
Yeah.
Was it just like, fuck those people now?
Yeah. Have you ever read The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels?
Nope.
It's the best.
Just don't read many books.
It's the best climate change book I've ever read. It's by Alex Epstein, who is not a scientist. He's a philosopher.
Did he kill himself?
Huh? No, not yet. But no, he's just great about it though. Like, he's like, hey, look, they have saved fossil fuels is the reason that we're living in this world that we've lived in. We've brought like you said, billions of people have been brought out of poverty, and it's all because of free market capitalism and access to fossil fuels.
I wonder when was the last time we had a free market?
Oh, I would say in the 1800s, pre-Civil War.
Okay.
That would be my guess. When we were the richest country in the world and we were so prosperous, we were winning. We win so much. It was tremendous. We're going back. We're going to make it great again. We're going to make it so great that you're not even going to imagine how great it is.
Because I have a couple of examples that just like prove beyond a shadow of a doubt there's no such thing as a free market. One, in the state of Nevada, I'm not sure if it's through the whole country. Let's say that you and I came up with the widget that cured cancer, and it made hospitals 80% more efficient as well as curing cancer.
Mm-hmm.
We would have to get approval from all of the hospitals in a radius of us to open a new hospital. Example one. Example two, do you remember the baby formula shortage?
Uh-huh.
4 or 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
Do you know why that was?
No.
There's only 3 companies in the United States allowed to make baby formula.
Of course. Monopolies.
3.
Yeah.
And one of those companies, since they weren't forced to have good standards because the market wasn't there to dictate that, was so terrible that the government's like, oh, bro, we got to shut you down. Like, you fucked this up too bad. And then we had the big shortage, and they allowed them to open back up. The free market doesn't do that,
No.
but there is a lot of hope.
Yeah, I always harp on electrical companies. They are 100% government enforced monopolies. You know, PG&E has blown up an entire neighborhood in San Bruno. Multiple, like, I don't even know how many hundreds or thousands of homes that have been burned down due to them being, you know, lack of maintenance that they should be doing. And if you decide, hey, me and you know, I know power, you know business, we can do better than them, the government will tell you to go fuck yourself and send your ass packing. And the way the example I like to use, because I was a bartender, imagine you came into my bar on Super Bowl Sunday, and at halftime I go, hey, look, guys, we're out of beer. You know, if you want to buy any more beer, I'm going to have to go buy another keg. So it's going to be $8 a pint instead of $5 a pint. And you go, that's stupid. Why would you not have enough beer on Sunday? You know, Super Bowl Sunday, you don't stock enough beer. Now I have to pay for it. That's ridiculous. I'm going to go to a different bar. Or better yet, since I've got experience, I'll open my own bar where I will not do that. And then the government tells you to go fuck yourself. You can't open your own bar. And then not only can you not open your own bar, but Applebee's is going to be the only bar in the state. And they're all going to stock this way because anytime demand outstrips supply, you get shortages and you get price raises. And that's the game with them, is use more energy, we're going to pay for it. You're going to pay for it. And they just want us, like, Texas is California's battery for all they're concerned. We don't give a fuck what goes on in Texas as long as we can use you for a battery.
Yeah. So I thought that if Harris got elected, we'd move closer to civil war. And I think that might happen now, or at least states flexing autonomy. Just with the fight for deportation, you know, California, Illinois, they're already stepping up and saying, we will not allow this to happen in our state. New York steps in also, let's say they say that. And then all of a sudden, most of our economy is like centralized in those places. So where, like, do they secede? Do they not secede? Do we cut off federal funding until they comply? If we cut off federal funding, do they, like, what happens there? And I haven't had a lot of time to think about it, but this is kind of what I've been tracking and thinking about after this election. Because Gavin Newsom put out a video that didn't take time to watch. He has one of the most punchable fucking faces in America.
Something along the lines of he's not going to comply with Trump's immigration orders. And
all right, so you went from a $80 billion surplus during COVID to a multi-billion-dollar deficit after, because all those companies IPO during COVID, they got all the tax money. So, like, where are you going to get the money to run your state if the federal government's not picking up the bill? But also, like, where does that GDP come back from if they aren't participating in our economy? It'll be really interesting to see how this all plays out. But I think that it could get bad.
So I have family in California still. Some of them we've been warning to get out. Others we're not even bothering, you know. And, like, it's going to be interesting to see what happens when the music stops, right? Like musical chairs, when the music stops, things get crazy. So this person in my family who cannot afford to live in California is living off of, you know, debt and credit cards. Their house is getting destroyed. They can't fix anything. They're doing competitive soccer, you know, and in order to keep this lifestyle going, this person, you know, lost their job and had to find another job and ended up taking a job for Neom, which is Prince Bonesaw's company for making The Line, that big fucking dystopian long city. You know what I'm talking about, in Saudi Arabia?
Okay. Yep.
So I just dropped it. She went and worked for that company, and wouldn't you know it, the company went up and now she got fired and she can't pay her bills. And now she's starting to, you know, call the family up. And I had a family member tell me today that when they talked to her, she was like, she wasn't asking for money, but she was kind of pushing for me to offer. And at this point, we're kind of like, hey, we told you, we've warned you, we've given you options, we've begged you to get out, and now it's on you. And I don't know what these people are going to do when the music stops for, I don't know, 10 million people in that fucking state that are just going to lose their bullshit job and have nothing.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. I'm really glad that I have a bunch of land in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
Like you
No
can't,
shit, right?
even my friends that I share my location with on iPhone, they don't know where it is. I don't get service out there.
Yeah.
You can't
it's
find
perfect.
me.
Yeah, man. It's, it sure is something. You know, on top,
Yeah.
like, I've got one more video we can play here. This is a great one that I just, all the bullshit, like ridiculous jobs. The analogy, you know, Mises's analogy of the master builder not getting enough funds to build the entire building. This is why we're just being destroyed. And because this is going on in every industry.
Secretary is a bag of bushings. This bag of bushings, stamped out by machinists, they need a high school diploma. It's not anything high tech about this. All of this bag is compliant with the FAA specifications. How much do you think the Air Force pays for this bag of bushings?
I don't know, Congressman.
$90,000. This is a $90,000 bag of bushings that you need for any jet turbine engine just to operate. So the exorbitant cost due to DoD only buying commercial parts from the OEMs, which is essentially sole source, is literally driving us out of business. I mean, the interest on our debt alone is now exceeding, for the first time in American history, the entire defense budget. We can't afford it anymore.
That's a $50 bag of bushings.
Yeah.
It costs $50 to make all those. There's almost nothing in materials. Yeah. 90 grand. And you're giving these people a blank check by saying we're only going to be doing business with you. You have a monopoly over these bushings. Well, now they're going to go up 5% every year. Oh, and look, we've got inflation, so we're going to have to kick it up for that. Oh, there's another war, so we're going to need to add another machine. You know, all this stupid bullshit that they can say to just get a blank check for a $50 bag of bushings.
And then the only way to compete with those people or to step in and pass through the government procurement process is by immutable facts.
Yeah.
Are you a woman? Are you from this class or this race or this thing? So you could have the best bushing manufacturer ever figure out how to make that bag for $2, and they would never see the light of fucking day.
Yeah.
If it was made by a white man.
Do you know about the, gosh, how do I explain this? The patent. There's a bunch of patents that just get scooped up for national security immediately. So somebody comes out with a solar panel that's 30% efficient, or, you know, some different way to stamp out bushings that would save $89,000 per bag. All they do is they get scooped up and they call it national security. Oh, national security. And there's thousands and thousands of patents like this. At one point, you weren't allowed to put out a solar panel that was more than like 20% efficient. It was just national security. Sorry, can't do it. So like, even if you are a badass inventor and you have, like you said, an idea and the skills to put that idea into an actual product, it'll never see the light of day because it's not good for the system.
Yeah. And which makes me hopeful about what's happening, but then these fucking appointments make me.
I know, right? It's not good. It's not looking good so far. Like, I kind of thought for a few days there, I was like, we're getting a little bit too high here. And I think we're due for a come down. It was looking a little bit too good to be true. All those videos that were floating around on Twitter about him dismantling the deep state and all that shit, those videos were all from 2015.
Yeah, because he was banned and he was on Rumble. So the thing that made me really hopeful was Dave Smith tweeting, got to keep our foot on the gas, can't have these, no fucking Pompeo. whatever, and then Trump Jr. being like,
I'm
I'm
on
on
it.
it. And then they appoint fucking Rubio. Come on.
Yeah.
Come the fuck on.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it was still better from 2016 or 2017 till 2021.
It's better than John Bolton,
And
I guess.
yeah. So like things are probably going to be better, but they're not going to be as good as they could have been.
Mm-mm.
Maybe not even great again.
It's
Again.
It's gonna be, God.
Can you play that Tucker clip that I sent you?
Yeah, I can actually.
Yeah.
I can. This is a perfect time for that. Here we go.
Way, and I don't want to be that guy. So no, I can't do that job.
Sorry, I got started over.
You would be the greatest press secretary in the history of the United States. Take the freaking job.
Alex
Can you imagine?
Roseanne.
No, I think I used to say to reporters who worked for me, I would always have the same rule. I'd always give them the same lecture. And I would say, you can't, you should be passionate about things, but if you can't cover your own girlfriend because you love her. So your view of her is totally distorted. I always say to my wife, who's almost 56, I'm like, I think you're just totally hot. Maybe you're not. I have no idea what you look like at this point, but I think you're hot. Because my view of my wife is so distorted because I like her. And I think the same is true for hate. If you hate someone, you should not be covering the person because you can't see their humanity. You're just blinded by rage. And I feel that way about the national media. I mean, I really mean it. I dislike them. I know conservatives are always telling you how much they hate the media. I hate the media.
You don't
Imagine
hate
if
them
you're
enough.
me and you spent your whole life with them and you know them all personally and you know just how corrupt they are, that they would, and they have, sat there and told lies that put people in prison, separated them from their children. Like, I could not be in a briefing room full of people like that. I would just be spitting hate at them, and I don't want to be hateful. I don't want to be around people I hate, and I really mean it. I would be up there like screaming at them. You know what I mean? And saying
They deserve
horrible things to them, like really horrible, personal things. You know what I mean? Because I know what they've done, and
Hey,
I would
what's
just
that
say
in your
it.
mouth?
And I don't, that's not the Christian way, and I don't want to be that guy. So no, I can't do that job.
Am I going to worry about it?
Tucker's a badass. Tucker's a badass.
Yeah. And like maybe I don't agree with the religion side of it so much. Actually, I think now more than ever, people need the structure of religion.
Yeah.
Even though I don't like the doctrine so much, but man, fucking better than whatever we got right now.
Yeah. It's something that I've considered, not so much because of the belief aspect of it, but more of the community aspect. I don't have any, I don't have a lot of family. I don't have any kids. I'm not married. At some point, my older family is not going to be around. And what am I going to do? I need to have some sort of support network. And that's probably the best avenue for that.
I'm thinking about taking the Freemasons over.
Dude, I was driving by the Freemasons the other day and I was looking, I was like, God damn, that would be interesting.
Attendance can't be trending up.
No, you're right. No, there's no way.
And it's so fucking powerful still.
You think they have a lot of power?
They have a lot of money. They have a lot of assets. And there's clearly no new thought there leading them into the next generation. And yeah, I think that there's an opportunity there for, well-meaning, not people just trying to do a power grab.
Yeah.
But for somebody who maybe didn't come from a bunch, but is pretty smart and ambitious, I think that would be one of the organizations that would be easy to get a lot of traction to further a cause or some thoughts. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that because it's interesting, right? It's not just it's not like taking over the Libertarian Party where there's a clear purpose.
What's that gonna do?
Yeah, exactly.
Did you watch Dave Smith yesterday?
I was watching it as I was going through dinner, where he was basically saying that libertarians don't want a twink in a cowboy hat.
All right, so a little further into the episode, he talked about this race in Arizona where it was very close, within the margin of error, but the Libertarian candidate had 6% of the vote. And he was like, what the fuck do I do? Because on one side, I'm very principled libertarian, like won't settle. And then on the other side, if the Democrat wins, it's gonna be worse for America.
Yeah.
And like how do you walk that line? And um then he talked about like Angela's decision to have Trump at the convention this year. And it's like we actually have a chance to make like there's some power there.
Yeah.
Like she got him to agree to have a libertarian in his cabinet, which is much more than the Libertarian Party's ever been able to do in its entirety.
Yeah.
So it makes me hopeful that at least somebody's thinking that. Because I always looked at the Libertarian Party as guns, 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 stay out of my life, stay out of my everything, but fuck your abortion.
I don't see that at all when I think about the Libertarian Party. When I think about the Libertarian Party, I think of a bunch of beltway cucks and a bunch of fucking stupid twinks like Chase Oliver. Like, to me, these guys are just a bunch of faggots. And like,
hard T.
Yeah.
Hard T on those
and they have this ridiculous like purity system that's not much different than like wokeism, right? If you fall out of line on any of these things, then you're excommunicated, you're off the island, right? And like, I don't agree with that. Like, I don't, like our last 2022 governor election was, you know, Brad Little, Ammon Bundy as an independent, and then Democrat. I had an Ammon Bundy sign in my fucking lawn because like, I don't even know who the Libertarian is. Never heard of them. Don't care. Doesn't matter. Like, here we actually have a chance to do something different. Like, to be bold and to pick somebody that's outside of the box. And, like, for some stupid libertarian to come and tell me that I'm not a libertarian because I did that, go fuck yourself, man. Like, I'm actually interested in liberty in my life, not some stupid abstract like theory of what you would like it to look like. That's never going to happen. You know what I mean?
Never. Yeah. I wish it would, but it's not going to. Yeah, I would encourage you to watch the rest of that.
Yeah,
where Dave talks about the woke libertarians. And like, there's a chance here to like, all right, so Dave Smith, Chase Oliver, Ron Paul is a libertarian, never getting more than 3% of the vote. Okay, so maybe we don't focus our time there. Maybe we focus our time on, I don't know, ranked choices. Even though you're anti-ranked choices.
No, I read into it more, and I think you're absolutely right. I actually told my mother today, we were doing this disability meeting, I was like, you know that fucking Prop 1 thing, we got hoodwinked on that. And it's so funny because like me, I can easily change my mind if I realize that I was wrong about something.
Yeah.
The boomer con mentality is so resistant to anything that they've been told is wrong that she didn't even want to hear it. Oh, there's no, and it's just like, let me explain it to you. And oh no, it wouldn't work that way. And I'm like, here, I even go to ChatGPT and said, what would have our, governor election looked like if that would place? And we read through it and it's like, yeah, we all want that. So no, you were totally right. I was glad that you fact checked me on that. I should add fact checker to your repertoire.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, me and Snopes.
Yeah,
Daniel Snopes Steele.
Oh,
and like
that's a good episode title.
And the thing is, something that's like rung in my head. I watched a JD Vance interview, and it's like, how are you going to deport 30 million people?
One at a time.
And he said, well, how would you eat an elephant?
Yeah.
You do it one bite at a time. So if the end goal is to have a president, you don't start with, hey, let's try to win the presidency. Let's try to win seats or state seats, whatever. Like, you don't even start at state house. You start with ballot initiatives, and you start with county commissioner. And then there was, I guess, I heard, I didn't look too much into it, but there was a push to get like as many libertarians elected. So it's like the head of janitors for the county. We got so many people. Like, no, like, look at what you need to do and how you need to get there. And it's not running Dave Smith.
No.
Which would be great.
Yeah.
It's not running Ron Paul.
And he could have done the same thing that RFK did if he was running. Hey, look, the best shot for actual liberty is going to be for me to drop out and get some influence and actually have some influence and have a say, have a seat at the table, which is very important. We've never had a seat at the table. Like you said, there's Javier Milei's coming to meet up with Trump and Elon this week, or maybe it was Ron Paul. I don't remember, but that's interesting. Like, we have to have a seat at the table.
I've lost interest in Lex Friedman, just like
he's so boring
generally, but he's doing a podcast with Lex too, which I'll probably watch that.
Yeah,
they're gonna dub it in English, but they're gonna have the conversation in Spanish. But like, who's more powerful in Texas than the governor of Texas? The train commissioner. They have more power throughout the state. Like, how do you become that? Well, I've never heard a libertarian talk about how to do that. Or how do you the board of regents in the state of Nevada? It's really important, and that's like kind of what controls the schools.
Yeah,
those are generally really like multi-hundred vote races. When I talked to LP in Nevada, nobody was talking about getting on the board of regents. So I don't know. I think that what Dave had to say yesterday was very thoughtful and made me hopeful for liberty in the future. And I'm glad that people are thinking past, no, we just need to run for president and under Fed. Like, that's not how you get it done. So, hopefully things can change, and it seems like people are thinking about things a little different. So,
like, rather than what you just said, how about we get somebody at the table who could push for an audit? It's not like they're just going to end the Fed next month. That's not. But hey, maybe we could get Ron Paul to get it audited, huh?
Well, yeah, I mean, let's start there. Like, what would it take? Well, it took Angela inviting Donald Trump.
Yeah, which
and
was
getting
so badass.
Concessions, and people were so fucking pissed about that.
Yeah, but
they booed him when he went on stage.
So stupid.
At least let the man talk.
So stupid. Like the dumbest.
Like, I'm not going to listen to you.
And that's that whole purity thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to listen to you because you're not a libertarian. It's like, dude, that is the closest fucking thing you're ever going to get to a libertarian in office, period. I don't care. Yeah. Like, that's it. He's the guy right now. And if we can get him to realize that we exist, then maybe we can push the needle.
When recently Barron was asked, are you pro-Democrat, are you pro-Republican? He goes, neither. So,
good. I read something today that said that he was responsible for Trump going on all those podcasts.
Mm-hmm. That I have read multiple times by many credible sources. So
makes sense. He's right there in that age range. He gets it.
Yep.
And
it was cool seeing him. No, you got to go to Theo first.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude, I love Theo's come up in the last few years.
He's killing
That's
it.
one of my favorite comedians.
He's fucking killing it.
I've never seen him live. And he lives here in Nashville. Or he did.
I think he does.
But yeah. But I don't think he doesn't do scheduled events at the comedy club here, but he might just pop in. I don't know.
Well, someday.
Well, all right, brother. I know you got another.
Got another podcast. Life of a podcaster.
Yeah.
All right, man.
All right.
Get out of here.